some experienced pieces of that on the children's license that took place, and other licenses that will take place along the way, where there was more individual work and pairings and smaller groups. And then from the video sessions themselves after the fact, a little bit of one-on-one mentoring through that process. And that'll change again as we go forward. We want everything to be very safe in what we do. And there's always been that part of coaching courses has always been the banter back and forth. But eventually when tensions rise, that banter becomes bitter. So it's something that I'm quite aware of. And trust me, for those that know me, I'm surprised nobody's chimed in yet. I don't mind a bit of banter. I don't mind a bit of back and forth. But I also know when it's time to stop. I've made my fair share of mistakes over the years, and admitted to them. And some cases I've been able to solve it, and others I haven't. So I don't stop trying. So that's the important aspect of it. We look at a lot of this when it comes to the facilitators, and I'll touch more on this later, but our LFs need to have the freedom to facilitate. The content is the content, but what we were trying to do was jam all the content into a small portion of a day, an hour, a weekend, 5 days, 4 days, and 90% of the stuff was being lost. So we need the facilitators to have the freedom to work in their environment. But what was more importantly, if we did the right stuff and leading into it, the candidates would feel the freedom to fail. And in order to have that freedom, that's the only way they would improve, by making the mistakes, their learning opportunities. We all do it. Even the facilitators do it. It's when they don't realize they haven't made the mistakes and don't correct it, then we have to look at that facilitator and make sure that, one, are they the right person to be in there? Because if they're not the right person, I don't care how knowledgeable they are, they're not good enough for our courses. And those are some things that we have to change, the different look and feel of how we approach things. The candidate is always at the forefront. Their well-being is paramount on our courses. So we've been able, as a facilitator, to listen and to look what's going on and be able to answer any questions and not make things up. I mean, to be knowledgeable and answer those questions. Those are key. And I don't think we have that across the country. So we'll get there eventually. What we've focused on are things behind the scenes, standard processes that it was 18 months ago when I first came on and I saw the C license as it stood then. And while some of the content might have been acceptable, the presentation of it wasn't. So we're trying to make that even user-friendly from our facilitators, gaining feedback from the facilitators. So if we're going to say listen and look, then we have to act on that ourselves and do what we're saying we're doing. Standardizing forms and processes, these are all the norms. However, there was never really development of it. For C license course and a B license course, there was anywhere between 20 and 35 line items that an evaluator had to watch as a coach was doing a session. I've been doing this for a while, and I'm sure some of you have been doing it for a while also. If you can mark a coach on 30 line items in a 30-minute session, then you shouldn't be doing this job. You should be running some sort of company somewhere. It's literally impossible. So we changed all of the observation of competency forms and got it down to a manageable amount, and allowing the facilitator to say, look, if these things happen, there's flow, there's excitement, there's energy, there's good information, then there's a general feel for a session. So we changed an awful lot of that behind the scenes, and the character and the competence I've spoke of, but there also needs to be a commitment from our LFs, not to be know-it-alls, but to have the commitment to listen and look. Because if they can do that and take on information, they don't have to agree, but they have to listen to what's being said by that individual because it's important to that individual. We want to ensure that we have a one-stop shop, a one source for all the information, but we want to disseminate the information because the information I can get, anyone can get. It's just how we connect all the dots. And before we change it all behind the scenes, we have to connect with the provinces, and we're doing that. And we need to get better at it, but we're doing that through a variety of little projects here and there. Leading into our coaching methodology, this will be more along the lines of information. So I know absolutely it's not new, but what we're basing this on comes from a style of coaching. And this was from Richard Allen in 2015. And it was based on the constraints-led approach. And that's what we're focusing things on in our coaching program. That's part and parcel of everything that we're doing and the approach that we want to take along the way. And that's in our courses from now on. We have removed the GAG terminology, game, activity, game, global, analytical, global. It all means the same thing. We've just changed the terminology over to whole, part, whole, and then we've broken it down a little bit. But we're moving in this reward, relate, restrict perspective of how we go about our coaching. And I won't go into the detail of that. It's just to give you an idea of what we've changed behind the scenes and why we've changed it, and where it will come into play is going to be on the children's and youth licenses. It'll be adapted into the beginning of the C and all the way up to future courses. So we're focusing on the cognitive side of things as well as the other theories of learning. But Malcolm Knowles and the whole, part, whole kind of breaks it down into observe and identify, break it down in the middle. That's our activity, and then rebuild. So that's the idea behind our introduction to it. What's right in front of me? What are the 4 F's? The fact, free, feel, and form. So what's right in front of me? What do I see? Where do I want to go with this? Let the players communicate that. So rather than coaching all the time, it's about the session design and the planning. And that, again, that's going to be a big focus for us. And some are flying colors on this. Some are going to take a little bit longer, and others are going to be quite adamant about, yeah, it's too much to think about. Well, it's not, because the importance is the person, which is the player that you're designing the session for, that is attached to a pairing, that is attached to a small group within the team, etc. So we want to go through that process, and then at the same time have the ability in training just to sit back and assess and reflect. And how we structure that will come to light a little bit near the end. We've also changed, as I said, the makeup of the practice session. That's a practice session that we're looking at. So we now speak of the warm-up and the cool-down, obviously bookending the main practice pieces. It's an introductory game, activity, and the final game. And the activity in the middle is about that phase of play. It could be another small-sided game, etc. So that's going to be across the board for all of our coaching courses, for all of our levels, from Active Start all the way to our future pro license. And again, it's just the explanation of each of those areas. So I won't go into the detail of it, but it gives you an idea of the breakdown behind the scenes. And what we don't want is to tell somebody how to be doing something. We're just given the structure and then are allowing the freedom of the individual to take over. What we do feel is important is the specific defining and designing of a session behind the scenes. So those are things that are important. And adding all that in to this. And yeah, anyone's face is up by the screen, my apologies. This is more to show from our courses all the way to our pro about how it fits in, and to give you an idea that, you know, free play education of structured warm-up. So it's just they show up and they play. Then we come down to the pro. It's extremely structured warm-up. From the activities on the community side, we're suggesting a variety of activities based on the age of players in the C license, and all the way down to starting at the B license, where that is focused on 19 years of age and older, that you can have 2 activities depending on the quality of your players, etc. So it just gives you an idea of what to look for in the grand scheme of things on how sessions can be structured. And there might be coaches out there that will say, yeah, no, I'm just going to do one. I'd never do 2 activities on a B license, or because I'm a B license coach. We're just saying, if you're going to use 2, you can. It's how you use it and how you structure it. If you want to use 1, fantastic, use 1. So lots of things to mix and match with, and it's the freedom, because I'm not you and you're not me. And thankfully you're not me, because you'd be mad daft. Then we look at the session focuses. So this is not finished, but it gives us an idea of how we want to structure things, when we should be introducing certain session parts, practice session parts, and the focus at different age brackets, all of that stuff. So it's certainly open for discussion, but we need a start point, and we need to go into this detail behind the scenes of what we're trying to do. So that is sort of a general piece of the change within the coach education, some of the structural issues and design issues that were behind the scenes. What we can say that, you know, currently, in the general numbers, 50,000 coaches across the country, that we have to focus on the person, the practice, and the play. And the practice is obviously the designing and the training aspect of that person, and how they put these things in place, and then how that individual person prepares for the game, and prepares individual players, groups, and the team for the game. And that's the key. So presently we have added a children's license, as you may or may not be aware. That started last year. We have also added youth licenses for this year. We had an introductory course. I don't like using the word pilot, because everyone seems to think, yeah, it's just a pilot, we'll whiz through this. Well, they got a rude awakening as they went through it in Ontario. It was 2 7-day blocks. It was challenging. I thought the participants hung in well, and it was definitely a challenge, but it was very thought-provoking, and it pushed people to the limits of thought without adding that stress factor. It was more the fatigue factor. So right now we have youth licenses in BC, Ontario, and Quebec, and they're currently running online. I've spoken with Raheem about the possibility of gauging interest within Saskatchewan and maybe neighboring province, Manitoba, to look at number of people that could be interested in a youth license and how we manage it, keeping in mind that it is a lot of work, and we are quite busy, and we know that if we're going to grow this, we have to extend our days, the length of our days. So really, really important. We have a renewal process now that has been developed, and there's one online. There's also a one behind the scenes, depending on who any individuals are and what they've done. There's some individual recognition, but there'll be a standard requirement for those that don't want to take NCCP courses, etc. And it'll be done through Google Classroom through a variety of tasks to complete, to allow someone to express their coaching knowledge and their experiences. The equivalency program itself stopped in December 31st, 2019. And what we do is for any other international licenses, if it's a B license or an A license, we allow that person to enter into a license that is equivalent. So if they have a UEFA B, they can come into our National B course. We won't give them a National B. We want them to experience our content, our courses, our country, and to be meshed into the environment. So it's certainly not out of lack of recognition, because if it was, we would start them at a C license. So we're recognizing that they have a license. And there's a slew of other things that that has taken place. We have added a pro license, but the development of that has been put on hold because of so many other things that are happening. We are in the process now. I've finished developing a futsal course along the lines of a C license to let you know, and that'll be going out to some people that I handpicked to review the content, to give feedback, obviously the check. We will be running a youth licensed goalkeeping course that will be developed, as well as a senior one. So the picture of what our coach education program will look like, you know, at the end of this year or a year from now will be vastly different. And at that point, then I believe we can begin to assess our coach education program. There will be a maintenance program established where there'll be points through the NCCP. For example, we're working with them to establish a guideline so that we're acknowledging what our governing coaching association is putting in place, and we're not reinventing the wheel, but we're specific about what we want. Our licenses come with a 5-year validity, and we want coaches to maintain their standard. And even if they go on no professional update, there's still opportunities for them to renew their license through completing tasks and so on. So we're trying to cover all aspects of what we're trying to do. And as I mentioned, recognition of work that's being done out there by opening our doors to many other people to get involved in our program. But not everyone's going to get involved because they might not be the right character. And we want to change that because we currently sit at male, pale, and stale, and it's awful. And we need to change the look of our programming. So expect those changes to happen. I've mentioned the future already. My next step amongst those other courses to redesign is redesign the full B license. The full B license will be a one national license. It won't be split anymore in 2021. However, we will offer part 2 as those coaches complete part 1 of the B license. We'll offer part 2 as long as needed, but those that look to start from a C license going forward in 2021 will be entering into a new B license, new, redesigned, and in line with every other aspect of the course. The A license will be redesigned at the same time. So we have a lot going on, and it's important that we get our programming right. So as we sit today, what happens now? The present, well, you've just kind of had an idea of the present, and you've had a double idea of the present, and this is it in triplicate. So there you go. Just to give you an idea of what we're at. That's everything that that I developed behind the scenes and the thought that was put into it is on this one page. It tells me everything about what I need to get done, and the detail obviously falls into place after that. What does our future look like? If any of you want to pick up the phone and tell me what that looks like, I'd be more than happy to take on the information, because it is wild right now. It is, it's absolutely crazy. It's an exciting time that comes at the expense of an unfortunate circumstance across the country and around the world. But what we want to look at going forward is that we speak of formal versus informal learning. And our formal part is our education, our licensing programs, which is understood. And then the informal part is where you can take activities outside of that that give you points toward your maintenance of your program. So what we want to include in that side of it is anything. If you're a business professional and you're coaching part-time, but you want to maintain a B license, if you've taken management courses or webinars, or you had to run workshops yourself, we'll include that, because that is personal development. That is personal skills, life skills that you'll be able to transfer. So we're looking at that part as well in our learning environments. But our courses need to do that. So how can we do that? Well, I'm suggesting that in the future, that even though our courses are formal, we have, because of the process, we have informal approaches within our courses. And we're kind of taking that approach now. But I want to get to the point of, day one, module one. If we don't finish it, then the facilitator records the rest of that module at the end of the day and then sends it out to the participants to complete the module at night, or at least they have it to look at a different date. So we just continue on as we go. Or the facilitator might decide, I'm going to complete this module before I go to the next one. Either way, the participants will get the information somehow, somewhere by the end of the course, as opposed to trying to jam it all in. Offering the candidates an opportunity to deliver topics themselves within the course, within a group, as opposed to the whole room. How are they going to discuss topics in that environment? And then ultimately, how do we get to a point where there is more individualized mentoring? And we're already heading in that direction. We're definitely not there, but we're heading in that direction. But that is kind of the premise of everything that we're doing. Where coaches have the ability to do things in their own home ground, their own field, with their own players, and feel relaxed doing so. That was already a change, but we're pushing hard to maintain that. But then having the mentor visit them. So in order for that to happen, yeah, I don't mind getting on a plane. I got Aeroplan points and I get a free barbecue. So I'm okay with that. You can do that. I'll come see you. But the important part is that every part of our country needs to have a mentor or mentors that can work with individuals. And right now we don't. You may have somebody that you want to chat to, but they don't really listen to you, but you have to talk to them. Well, that's not a good relationship. So we have to change that. A combination of learning environments, and we're going through that as we speak right now with the online segment of all of it. Checks for understanding along the way as we go through our processes. Where are we at? What do we need to change? Do we need to change, in this youth license day 3 right now, because there's another youth license day 3 coming up. Let's change it if it needs to get changed, so that the information is ready to go for the next one. We're not sitting waiting for change. We make it happen because the participants said, hey, wouldn't it be better if? And that's an important aspect. My apologies. I'll touch on the support pyramid later, so I don't want to ignore that. We want to be able to consider the idea of, yes, the online component, but a scheduled online component where courses happen at specific points throughout the year and not others, to allow the opportunity for appropriate observation of videos, workbooks, all the rest of it, following a kind of an academic semester type programming for all courses. Now, is it going to apply to all? Maybe not, but maybe for the higher licenses, I think it might. We also want to talk about the opportunity to have those discussions in class. Again, a different learning environment. Here's your topic, group 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we want you to deliver it to each other, but also providing the information in advance. So there are lots of things to look for as we go forward. How are we going to get there? It's going to be a massive provincial undertaking guided by ourselves. And this is not etched in stone. This is still yet to be ironed out and discussed, but this is how I operate. We review what's there and we keep what's good and we get rid of what's bad, period. I can't make it any more clear than that. If we have facilitators or content that are not good enough, we need to remove them. And if we have good content and good facilitators, then we need to review them for further development, but we need to keep them. But we also need to recruit new faces, fresh blood, fresh ideas, so that we get better longevity in our coaching programs. We want to continually evolve. And not only that, there are individuals out there that may have been disheartened over the years and just said, you know what, bugger this, I'm off. I'm not putting up with this. This is a nightmare. There's good individuals out there that we can revive their interest, bring them back towards the new programming, the new direction, to see if they like it. If they're not interested, they're not interested. They can't say then that they haven't been provided an opportunity to do so. Once we go through those steps, we retain what we have, but we have to then show an interest in our individuals. And we have to make sure that they're looking towards the future and we're helping them get that, because there are opportunities to do things. Before, there was no opportunities. It was, they're just not good enough because they've not shown the opportunity, they've not shown the guile or the interest, or they don't think the same as me. Newsflash, nobody thinks the same as each other. Otherwise, we'd all be robotic and we'd be boring as hell. So I much prefer living on the edge of chaos, creativity, and making sure that an individual coming onto our courses has that same feeling. And all our job is to facilitate the learning and the environment, but also to help that individual be better at what they do. So the national structure, there'll be multiple master coach developers in the overhaul of things. This is my vision. This is what I would like to see. Then the master coach developer has a series of master coach developers who are group leaders of LFs in specific areas, whether that's province to province, don't know yet, but this is how I see it all being connected. Then that master coach developer for a region works with as a group leader with the other LFs. And there's a study group of LFs who get together and talk about coaching in the game and the trends that are happening in a specific area and how that can potentially impact the coaching program that will allow the rest of the country to grow. Because the country is the priority, period. But along the way, we have to address the individual issues and ensure that everyone is looked after. It's not easy. It absolutely isn't. Then again, in most cases, LFs work in pairs, but the master coach developer from that region goes out and watches and observes the pairs. The participants on the course observe the pairs and give feedback. And if those pairs aren't willing, the LF pairs aren't willing to receive the feedback and don't want to change, then we'll go find another pairing. It's important that the pairing of those LFs is key, that they work off of each other and are able to work with the candidates on the ground when we're doing our coaching courses, and they must enjoy it, because ultimately the feedback comes from the pairing of the LFs, and more importantly, the candidates have an opportunity now to have an impact on our coach development program. Whereas before, here it is, deal with this, this is how you'll coach, and then you'll be assessed at the end of a 5-day week, and you're absolutely bollocksed. So it's not going to happen ever again under my watch or the rest of the development team's watch. But the feedback comes from the masses, and the support comes from the top down. Not this is how you're going to do it, but the middle part of the study group and working together, that's where the support will come from. And we have to take that on board, and knowing that for ourselves in Canada Soccer, there's going to be feedback. We're not going to get it right, because we don't get it right if we don't listen and look at what's going on. So we take all of that on board, and have done over the last 18 months. There you go. I've tried to jam as much as I can in a logical fashion within this to give you an update on what we've done so far. This is a burning desire for me to change the coach education program and get it right to the best of our ability, to make sure that everyone has a positive experience on our courses, and begin to say positive things about the change. We have to ensure that it sticks, and moving forward, we need to get more people involved.
Thank you, Stuart. That was an incredibly detailed look behind the scenes in terms of all the coaching education and all the hard work that has gone on from Canada Soccer to sort of bring our coaching education forward. I know that I've thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to be an LF on some of the new material. So I just want to thank you for that. But yeah, thank you again for that. Doug, anything from your end?
Well, I just want to thank Stuart for that, and we have a couple of agenda items that we want to run through as well tonight. So what we'll do is, if you have questions for Stuart, send them along to Raheem by email, and then we'll get back to that. And if we'll see if we have some time. I'm not sure if Stuart's going to stay with us or head out, but we'll take questions offline if we can, and move on to some other stuff. But coaching obviously is one of the primary factors in our retention and ultimate success for lifelong participation of our participants, our coaches, our athletes, even our parents wanting to stay engaged are impacted by the quality of coaching that is received. So really appreciate that very much, Stuart, and we thank you for your time tonight, and just send questions along if we can then. Okay, guys? So Stuart, you stopped sharing, so I've got the screen. I'll get mine back up, and
yep.
Thank you for that. And I'll turn it back to Raheem to take us into the next piece here.
Wonderful. Well, I think I plugged it a little bit earlier before, but for those of you that are interested in Canada Soccer and learning more about Canada Soccer and also the people that are a part of it, our Director of Development, who's on the call, or 2 calls ago, Jason DeVos, is leading the new podcast. And last week they had, or I think it may have been 2 weeks ago now, that they had Dave Nutt, who's the former Director of Soccer Operations for Saskatchewan Soccer, on the call. So please make sure to take a look. It's available on all the SoundCloud and Apple Podcast and so on. So moving on from the podcast.
For a second.
Yep.
Leanne, does everybody have my proper screen back to the slideshow?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So if you can jump to the next slide. Perfect. So just a few things from an online education perspective. As Stuart had said, we're in a different time right now, and so trying to really take hold and use the ability to connect online, especially when we have a different time than normally being on the field every day. We've started to line up a series of different coaching education opportunities for everyone, and then also highlighting some of the different education opportunities that exist outside of our sport specifically. So You know, I'll highlight some of the ones that are soccer related. So on Thursday, we have Dave Nutt talking about the Canada Soccer licensing principles in action. Anyone interested in the Canada Soccer Club licensing program, those who are a part of it, principles are really underpinning a lot of what we do now from a coaching education perspective, from a club licensing perspective. And so it's going to be an opportunity to hear from Dave a little bit about the principles, but there will be hopefully a very good question and answer period as well, as everyone gets to talk about things in their reality. On May 19th, we have a coaching education workshop, which will be presented by Paul Marco. Paul is a university coach in the US, and he's been a national instructor with the former National Soccer Coaches Association of America and now the United Soccer Coaches. He's going to talk a little bit about how you can engage players online for those interested, some technology that they're using that is actually free of charge in order to do so with the club or the club that he's a part of as well, but also developing your own coaching process. So, you know, when we talk about the formal and the informal, this will definitely reside within that informal education opportunity. May 25th, we have another coach education workshop with Bart Chauffeur from the Whitecaps, building off of the workshop from yesterday. If you missed it, don't worry, we're getting a recording of it, so you'll be able to take a look at it. I'll be running a workshop on May 27th on developing an annual plan. We've done this workshop a couple times before, so if you've been on it before, don't worry about it. Otherwise, you know, we will record it and post it as well. And then on June 4th is a follow-up to Dave's session from this Thursday, which will be balancing quality with accessibility and inclusion. So when we really dig into the club licensing program, you know, there are many different trends that we speak about. So one of them is quality programming. The other, you know, another hot button topic is accessibility and inclusion. So it's looking at the principles in action and how you balance quality as well as accessibility and inclusion.
Next slide, Raheem.
Yes, please. And then from a coaching education perspective within Saskatchewan, we're reviewing the feasibility of a C and B Part 1 courses at the moment. You know, we'll be able to provide some more information probably on our next call as we continue to work towards better understanding what that can look like, and also making sure that we're really aligning to the vision of those courses from Canada Soccer as well. I think it's really important that, you know, we do our best from a Sask Soccer perspective of bringing out the ethos and the goals of the Canada Soccer coaching education program and the different education opportunities that we offer within the province. We'll have if you check the coaches workshop or the coaches, workshops page on the website, you'll see a number of the different workshops and webinars that are available. John Herdman, along with some of his staff, have got 2 more modules to deliver, 1 more this month and 1 more next month. So if you're interested, please make sure to jump on and register for those. The information provided is exceptional, and it's a great opportunity to hear from our men's national team head coach. In addition to that, we are working with the Sports Medicine and Science Council from Saskatchewan to come out with a series of workshops in June and July. They're going to be centered around development for coaches in a non-sport specific context. So talking about things like sport nutrition, sleep and performance, managing change, coach wellness, goal setting, stress and relaxation, and looking at it both from you as a coach, but then also giving you some tools to work with your athletes as well. So when we talk about coach wellness, it's about your wellness, because as a coach, you need to be well in order to bring out the best in your players. And, you know, thinking about nutrition as well, and not just for your players, but for you as an individual yourself, better understanding some of the different tricks and tools of the trade. So more information is going to be available on that within the next week. So look out for that. There are no costs for participation in those workshops as well. So if something interests you, please make sure to attend. Otherwise, we'll record it and pop it online as well. And then club licensing, the declaration of interest is open. I believe we have 9 organizations right now that have submitted their declaration of interest, including some that applied last year that are now moving on to higher levels of club licensing. If you want to know more about club licensing, or you have questions about the different levels, please send me an email. It's dos@sassoccer.com, or you can find it online on our website. But I'll be glad to have a conversation with you or sit down and walk you through some of the different information. And all the organizations that have completed their declaration of interest, you should have received an email from me outlining the information on how to submit your application, or the different documents within your application. So if you haven't, make sure to shoot me an email. But if you're interested in the program, make a real effort to have someone from your organization sit in on the webinar on Thursday with Dave, and the follow-up webinar on June 4th. Because I think it's one thing to look at the list of different criteria that you need to accomplish, but it's another thing to understand the reasons why behind it. And I think when everyone understands the sort of that why and the reasons behind it, it's a lot easier to sort of really move in that direction and be a part of it and be a part of the Canada Soccer Club licensing program.
I think we're here, Raheem, are we?
Yep.
Excellent. So as part of our communication on Friday, obviously a focus for the last few weeks is about return to play. Recently, we've announced a survey, and we're following the provincial government's 5-phase plan to reopen the economy. So Raheem, I'll let you take it from there. You've been taking the lead on this, but we want to get to some conversation back and forth with members on the line and questions and answers. So let's move through this fairly quickly, and then we'll get into some question and answer stuff. Sure.
So just we spoke about it on the last call, but a brief update is there's a group of us within the Canada Soccer Technical Committee that are working on return to play protocols. More and more organizations from around North America are starting to put these together as well. I appreciate, I believe Amanda from SYSI sent me through a couple of documents she came across with regards to return to play. So if anyone's coming across documentation outlining other sports from other provinces or within our own province or from down in the US, please send that through, because it does help. Ultimately, we want to try and have the most comprehensive and well put together documentation support that we can for our membership as we get closer to returning to play. And then there was a communication on Friday that had a survey that was sent out with it. And so if you can please take the time to fill that out, it would be a great help for us as well, just so that we're making sure that we're representing and understanding all the different realities and also thoughts that everyone brings, because I think a diverse set of opinions can sometimes lead us to a better conclusion. So please take the time for that, and that would be greatly appreciated.
So yeah, we'd really appreciate your support on that survey, and that's just the first step for us as we develop this return to play plan. And with that, I think we'll hold for a minute, Raheem, and we'll just invite questions either about return to play or for Stuart, whatever the group wants to talk about. We've been talking for a while, and we're open to listening. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. And I see Hugh Morris has got his mic open. You ready to ask a question, Hugh?
Yeah, could you send me that that Friday one out? I never received it, Doug, please.
The Friday member communication?
No, the one you just sent out about the return to soccer. I didn't research. I don't know where it went in our organization, but I didn't get it. The questionnaire you want us to fill in.
All the postings, Hugh, are on the website. So if you just look on the main page of the website, you'll see it up there. Right on the banner headings, or else under the news archives, you can find all the communications, okay?
Okay, buddy, I'll get that there. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Any other questions from the floor? Again, questions, Stuart, I think you're still on the line. I'm just going to check my list. Stuart's still available. If you have questions for Stuart, thank you, Stuart. Jason Jones from Moose Jaw JJ Soccer.
Hi guys, thanks for the presentation, Stuart. That was very good. I do have a question though, with regards to all the programs that are online under the community stream. It says you have to register through your member organization. So is that something we need to set up on our end through the RAMP website? Or does it just go through the CSA?
The registration for your coaching courses go through Saskatchewan Soccer.
Yeah, so Eden, I think, is on the line, Jason, and
Okay.
Eden can walk through the ramp part. So as Stuart said, like we are Saskatchewan Soccer is responsible for the community courses, but Eden was sort of instrumental in building the back end through ramp to get access to it. So Eden, if you can unmute yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Go ahead, Eden. Yep.
Perfect. So Jason, just with the coaching clinic setup, if they're registering for the clinic through the clinic registration on your ramp system, then you'd have them registered through your member organization.
Okay, all right. Is that something we do from the back end though, for a community coach course? Like we have to put it out there so they can register?
Yeah, it went active when we put all the coaching clinics activated at the beginning of May, I believe. So if they log into any of their ramp registration portals, they'll see the clinic registration come up. You won't be required to do anything because it was set up at the provincial level.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Eden. Other questions?
Jason, just as an add-on, Eden did a great how-to video as well that's available on our website. And I think it was linked in our last member communication as well. So if you need any information on, or like a video to send to people on like how to actually like, you know, get onto a course and then get access to the Google Classroom, she put some time and effort into it and actually put together a really good resource.
Perfect. Thank you.
Jason, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
You can just unraise your hand there.
I have a question from the chat box.
Okay, thank you.
Danielle Moore from Qu'Appelle Valley asked for MOs who decide to cancel their outdoor season, what is the procedure? Is there a fee or is there something to do on ramp?
Is the question related to canceling the season or to registering for a course?
Canceling the season.
So I'm not sure what you mean by, you can just keep us informed, Danielle, and
Okay.
just send a note through to Eden or Nicole Drozda's back with us start of next week. She's just getting some training this week again. So she'll be in the member service position, but just let us know what's going on for you and then we know. So just on that question though, if there's activity with your athletes, we still are providing service to members that register. And even though you may not choose to run your season, you don't have to pay a fee associated to that. So that you can still register, have people register and take advantage of programming and have coaches register and take advantage of programming without cost for the online activities. So does that help you get answer to your question, Danielle?
Somewhat, yes. We're having a meeting this week and we're trying to make the call on what we're going to do because our season usually ends before the end of June. So right. We have to make some decisions, and I just wondered, is there still going to be a cost on on the Qu'Appelle Valley's part, even though we're not collecting any fees? Are we going to be expected to submit any kind of fees to Sask Soccer to remain a member for this season if we're not hosting a season?
Not if you choose not to go active with your play, right?
Okay.
So yeah, members, this is stuff, and it's good to reinforce the messaging. This is messaging I think we've been sending for the last few calls, that members have the right to choose to play or not to play. There's no cost to you, obviously. We're providing a lot of online tools and access to coaches and players, etc., to keep people engaged. But ultimately, until return to play is announced, we want to encourage member organizations to keep that hope alive, and I think you're going to find that there could be interest, but of course that's entirely up to you. But we don't know when soccer will return in the on-field manner. But I think that some of the surveys that some of the groups have done, Saskatoon Youth, Weyburn, Swift, and others, have indicated that there is quite an interest in returning to soccer at some point during the summer. So I just ask you to consider that, Danielle, before you make your decision. And obviously, if you want to talk to anybody on staff, just let us know, and we'll be glad to support you in that discussion. And ultimately, this discussion is entirely up to each member organization whether they offer activity or not. But we hope that there's a chance for them to do that, and that if there is that chance, they'll consider to doing so. So, Eden, did you have anything else on that maybe I didn't cover?
I was just going to let her know that Capel Valley is actually, in case she was wondering regarding membership fees, we did receive you guys' member renewal back in March, so you are a member in good standing. You don't have any amount owing for registrations or any type of renewal fees, in case you were just wondering about any of that. And as for registration fees for any individuals, when that time comes that we do have a return to play set up, we'll let the member organizations know about registration fees and deadlines and everything like that. But currently you guys don't have anything past due to us that would require you to submit any payment.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Eden, for that clarification. Any other questions or comments from members? What's going on in your communities? What are you hearing? What resources are you trying to share? What are your hot button items? Anything like that? Anybody we're glad to hear from you folks. We like to hear the interaction on the calls. If not, I'll just speak a little longer about return to play then.
Doug?
Yep, sorry, go ahead.
I've just put the survey link in the chat box for everyone. So if you're wondering about that survey, the link is in the chat box.
Thank you very much, Leanne. And we would really love to see every member organization in the province respond, so we have a really broad provincial perspective of what people are dealing with. But in regard to return to play, then just know that this topic is a complicated one, and it seems to change sometimes literally every hour. Our day changes just on one call or one email. So in Saskatchewan, there is some recommendation from SAS Sport that we start to develop a very detailed return to play plan. As Rahim has said, we're working with our colleagues at Canada Soccer and even sharing with some of our other sport colleagues in Saskatchewan to develop these sophisticated plans. And of course, then there's going to be national level, potentially, and then provincial level, then potentially regional level, then municipal level authorizations before we can return to play. And then Canada Soccer right now is working on a risk assessment tool that clubs from across Canada will be asked to submit their details about their return to play plans. And that's something we'll have further information on in coming calls and as we get that developed at Canada Soccer level. So a lot of work going on. We hope that we're going to return to play soon, but it's certainly a changing dynamic. Again, I'll offer last chance for questions from the floor for membership. Otherwise, we're preparing to probably wind up here shortly. All right, so our next call, Leanne, I think is 2 weeks from tonight. What's that date? May? I can't
May 26th.
May 26th. Again, submit your ideas for content, submit your questions and comments. We will continue to have calls. They've been very well attended. We hope they're providing value to you, and we're always open to your comments. And again, we're here to support membership. We are working with a limited staff, but we are all working very hard. And if there's things that are important to you, then we will certainly try to find space to support those in our busy days. But we're very glad to hear from you, and really grateful for everybody that has been on the call tonight. Really want to thank Marinos for being with us and for Stuart for being with us tonight. And just thank everybody for being on the call. Lisa, not sure if you're available, if you have your mic on still, if you have any final words.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks again to staff for making this possible, and our special guests, Stuart and Marinos, for joining us tonight, and for all our members again for engaging in tonight and keeping the door open for are, continuing to plan to get back to play.
Thanks, Lisa. Raheem, you've done a lot of work to get ready for the call tonight and then preparing for return to play. Any final comments from yourself?
Yeah, just if you've done surveys send in and you're willing to share the results from them, please send them through. If you haven't completed our survey yet, please take a couple moments to do so. And like I said on the last call, if there's anything that we can do to help, please let us know and try and help support some of the different educational opportunities that we're going to be rolling out, because I think it those that were on the call yesterday and on the call with Paul Varian the past couple of weeks, I think it's been a really enjoyable experience getting to spend time as a soccer collective in different ways, shapes and forms, and trying to find ways to keep ourselves engaged. So if you guys need anything, just don't hesitate to shoot me an email.
All right, Raheem, and on that note, we'll close the call off and just thank everybody for all their work, for the staff for putting this together, to the board for being on, for our special guests for being on tonight, and of course, to all of you members for out there for doing the work that makes soccer possible for thousands of kids across our province. We're very, very grateful, and reach out if there's any way we can help, and we'd be glad to stay in touch with you no matter what you're doing, and to listen to what's going on in your community. So thank you very much, and we'll talk to you on the next call. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Doug.
Bye, guys.
Bye, folks. See you.
Good night. Thanks, Stuart.
Night, Stuart. Good
Okay.
job.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, everyone.
Speak to you soon,
Thank you.
Stuart. Bye. Thanks, Raheem.